Thanks very much, Aaron. Fantastic to see Will Brown down there, and such a young man with so much experience is going to be really the one to beat, I think, in TCR. Come the next round or two, watch out for Will Brown. We've got the stars of the future making their way out of pit lane for the CAMS Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship. 8 cars making up the field this weekend. I'm Darren Smith and being joined by Rob James. Of course, Rob, we had a race yesterday. We had a race early this morning, and this one will complete round 3 for the CAMS Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship.
Exactly right, Darren. This is race 3, but only the halfway mark of our weekend. It's double round, 6 races head up the Formula 4 Championship this weekend with Lewis Leeds and Ryan Sewell on the front row for race 3. Now, it's the second fastest time set in the first qualifying session, which we had yesterday afternoon. We had 2 qualifiers. Lewis Leeds will be on pole for both races 3 and 4 today as well.
So the grid looks like this. It will be Lewis Leeds on pole, just mentioned. Ryan Sewell in the Ray White BRM car on position number 2. Then we will have Lockie Hughes, who's just had a really good start to his Saturday of his race weekend with a win this morning. Emerson Harvey in position number 4. Harry Hyack on return to motorsport here in Australia. Great to see him on the grid, and he'll be out of position number 5. Number 6, Antonio Astudi. Jackson Walls out of number 7. And Christian Mansell, who had a troubled start to the race this morning off pole, jumped the start of the race, and he is going to be starting out of 8th position for this final race of round 3 of the CAMS Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship.
Christian Mansell, the 3rd AGI Sport correct machine for 2019. He's actually had a bit of a whirlwind tour around the world. He's actually been racing in Europe and in France as well in karting. So that's been the young man's sort of season to date so far. He's beginning that transition into open wheel racing. It's a whole other planet when it comes to circuit racing away from karting. So everything's a bit more complicated. The data sheets, the engineers,
suspension,
everything is so different. The downforce, but he's taking it with his stride, so he's doing a super job as Christian Mansell.
Look, most of these guys come into this series straight out of karting. It is the designated pathway for those that are following the recognised pathway. There is certainly karting into Formula 4, and as we've seen with numerous races, Cameron Shields is doing it this year. He's gone off to Europe. Lewis Leeds has done his Red Bull Junior program as well in Europe. Harry Hyack went over to the UK. Unfortunately, he found himself in a nasty crash, but it's great to see him back. Really good to see drivers returning after they've had a crash. It can often be a bit of a daunting task to put the helmet and the hands device back on and get back behind the wheel, but Harry is back here with us in the Australian Formula 4s, and we look forward to seeing his progress back right to the very front of the field in whatever he chooses to do, particularly here this weekend in the Formula 4s.
Got a couple of cars out of position, but that's no matter now. We've got the revs rising, the Ford EcoBoost engines on the rev limiter as we head for race 3. Lewis Leeds gets massive wheel spin. Brilliant start by Team BRM's Ryan Sewell. He's leading the field as I head towards turn 1.
Ryan Sewell, of course, in multiple years now of open wheeler racing, drives down into turn 1. I guess the only one in the field with more experience is the guy he's just eclipsed down into turn 1, which is Lewis Leeds, but we're missing the Lockie Hughes car off the second row of the grid. Around through turn 2 they go. The famous Southern Loop being pushed wide there is Harry Hyack, just allowing some room.
Antonio Astudi jumps up to position 3 now. We'll find out what happened to Lockie Hughes, our race 2 winner from this morning. Now, I can see the Team BRM mechanics down at the end of the pit lane feverishly working on that black and white Team BRM machine. So it looks like they've struck some gremlins before the race start, but no matter now, this is the field that we have at the moment for race 3 on the opening lap. It's Ryan Sewell, Lewis Leeds and Antonio Astudi, top 3.
Tell you what, Emerson Harvey's been given the short back and sides in the Shannons insurance car. He's gone from the second row, 4th position, back down to second but last in this race. So not sure what happened there. He got pushed wide out through turn 4 and was hung out to dry, going all the way around Siberia, so covering a lot of real estate. There he is there in second but last. But looking forward to seeing how he fought back. He fought hard and strong at Sydney Motorsport Park in the last round. Let's see. Did a good job to get himself onto the second row of the grid. Got some pace, and we'll see how Emerson Harvey pushes on through the rest of this 12-lap distance.
As we cross the checkered flag now for the end of lap 2. The Cam Space Australian Formula 4 Championship. Ryan Sewell, Lewis Leeds, Antonio Snooty, Harry Hayek, Jackson Walls, Emerson Harvey and Christian Mansell. Christian just had a look on the inside of turn 1 but just backed off on it. Let's not forget that's his 3rd ever race around Phillip Island, so to be even thinking about going flat through turn 1 and making a pass stick is pretty brave in itself for even the most experienced of drivers.
Absolutely correct there, Rob. This place really does test the braveness of a race driver, and often in these 12-lap journeys, how they strategise as well. It's all good and well to just jump away from the front line of the row of the grid, but there's only 2 of them that can do that. There's Christian Mansell. He's gone to the dirt there again. That's exiting turn 2 and bringing on a lot of gravel. So he's gone off at turn 1 and made his way all the way back up through the dirt to get any sort of gravel through there. So that's a shame. Goes back down. What it does is it allows Emerson Harvey a bit of breathing space on the back wing now. Now he's got to get his head around getting past Jackson Walls.
Well, Emerson Harvey becomes what was the hunted to the hunter.
Yes.
He's looking at the back of the Jackson Walls machine. Although Jackson Walls is no slouch, he's certainly hungry to be vindicated with a strong result this weekend. He's had issue after issue so far this weekend. Had it coming together with Ryan Sewell in race number 2 earlier this morning, and he just had nowhere to go. Didn't run young Ryan and Jackson Walls in that previous race, but luckily they both make a start, and Ryan Sewell certainly making amends in the lead of this race.
This is a good battle here. The number 26 of Harry Hayek and Jackson Walls, the Objective Racing team, line astern from each other. This should set up for a draft as they go very close. Pulls out at the last minute, just about a clash of wheels in the Australian Formula 4 Championship there with Walls and Hayek, but Walls pulls back in the Objective Racing, could not slingshot through. The EcoBoost Ford motors in these things working very well. But look at that, next time round, Jackson Walls probably needs to get out of the draft a little bit earlier and get on with that pass.
As we look at the replay now from the race start, just look at that wheel spin from Lewis Leeds at the start. No wonder he had to be relegated to 2nd place with Ryan Sewell getting a brilliant start. They headed towards turn 1 there. All line is turned very close, very narrow is turn 1. Certainly slippery around the outside of the track.
Good turn in there for Ryan Sewell. That's where he got that advantage. Right round the outside there goes Harry Hayek. And it was about now where Harvey got hung out to dry a bit there as we
see a card that actually went off out in the background. That was Christian Mansell. They would have got a rude shock as they crossed through turn 1, as we see a replay of Christian Mansell's earlier off.
Yeah, he went right down into the exit of turn 1 there, so got around the corner and then went off on the exit.
He was pretty brave just before that moment. He actually set the purple sector in sector 3, so he's certainly not shy of pace. He's young Christian Mansell in his 3rd ever Formula 4 race and his 3rd ever around Phillip Island too.
Actually, I'll put it to you, Rob, that all of these guys are pretty quick. If they get themselves operating in the right window, they really are quick. We're in lap 3, so we're going to actually start to see some quick times. We're just seeing Antonio Studi setting fastest sectors. So the tyres come on, the Henkel tyre has come on, and now they're about to get into it. The brakes are nice and warm. Everything's up to top temperature. They really only get an out lap, so technically a formation out lap and warm-up lap all combined in one. So that does allow the cars to maybe a lap or 2 further into the race to come up to that optimum temperature. And I guess that's the real testament to Ryan Sewell and Lewis Leeds, is to be fast on the cold tyre.
Less than half a second split our race leader, Ryan Sewell and Lewis Leeds. 3/10, in fact, if we want to get specific there. Leeds, of course, the victor in race 1 yesterday afternoon in the glorious sunset. Hasn't Phillip Island turned on the weather this weekend? It's been absolutely baking in sun so far. So
it's always like this.
It's always like this around Phillip Island. I don't know it any different. But Ryan Sewell, he's certainly looking in his mirrors, seeing that red, black and white 23 red AGI Sport machine in his mirrors, but he'll certainly be pushing on to maintain that race lead.
Certainly Phillip Island turning it on, known as Melbourne's playground down here at Phillip Island. And certainly is in the summertime, but really fantastic weekend here for the Shannons Nationals. And it's going to be like this tomorrow as well. So if you are watching us on the live stream, thanks for joining us. But come and join us trackside, get it live in 3D, and you can actually smell it too, which adds that extra dimension to coming to the track. We'd love to see you here. Come and see the Formula 4s, come and see the GT cars, and of course come and see the Victorian debut of TCR here this weekend. And if you can't, gee, we love having you on our live stream and, of course, on SBS this afternoon.
Have a look at that slipstream. You could just visit, you could easily see Lewis Leeds gaining position on Ryan Salt, and he had to think about it around the outside on the exit of turn 1. Certainly no grip around there, but they just hung on in there. That's the experience these two guys have. These are the best Formula 4 races that we have in the country. Years of experience. Lewis Leeds, a winner in Formula 4 races in Australia, in Mexico, and he's even competed at the Monaco Grand Prix to boot, and the kid's not even 20.
Side by side, in fact, doing year 12 this year, we discussed earlier. So side by side into Honda, the braking duel there, the guy on the inside, car number 5. Talking about Mansell, there's that number 5, which is not got Mansell at the wheel, but certainly a famous number 5. There is a Mansell in the race, he's in number 7. As they climb the hill here at Phillip Island. They'll feel that in these Formula 4s. It will feel like the incline up around the famous Hayshed and one of the best corners in Australian motorsport. Blind over the crest of Lukey Heights. Grab a big deep breath, pull down on the belts and just keep your foot buried. Trust that the track is clear over the top there. There's a very vital flag point at the entry there. And if you see a yellow flag there, you really want to take caution coming over the hill because it is blind, and later on today it will be absolute blazing sun right in your eye. During this time of the year the sun is low and will catch you right on the visor, and we'll start to see those Iridian lens tinted visors this afternoon.
Tell you what, someone who's not enjoying the experience of Phillip Island at the moment is probably our race leader, Ryan Sewell. He's got Lewis Leeds all over the back of him. He's having a lunge down at turn 1, but just not quite close enough to make that pass stick. But there's no worse feeling for a race driver, Darren, than to be harassed by the hunter right behind you, and that hunter is Lewis Leeds. And Antonio Estudi, mind you, P3 at the moment, could benefit the lot. He could get the jackpot if these two have it coming together.
If Lewis Leeds hasn't recognised the orange and blue in his mirrors, he might get a real surprise under brakes here as Leeds goes to the inside, covering off the line. No, not this time. Sewell says, you want to have a go, have a go. We'll see what turns out. And there's Antonio Estudi right into the gearbox now of Lewis Leeds. Lewis Leeds' attention switches from in front to behind as they come around out of Siberia and start to make their way under the Shannons Nationals Bridge. Here they come. They'll pop up. 1, 2, 3. And start to come up the hill. 1, 2, 3. The Cape Barron geese just getting the best seat in the house off the edge of the gravel trap there as well.
How's that momentum shift? We saw Lewis Leeds having a crack at the race lead, and then he's being threatened for P2. And now we see a switch again. Lewis Leeds very close to the back of Ryan Sewell. These corners here will be critical to set up that pass through turn 1. We're still several hundred metres away from turn 1, but this sets up the run as we see Ryan Sewell and Lewis Leeds run towards the final corner now. They'll be crossing the start-finish line to start lap 7 of 12 of this race, and Lewis Leeds wants to hang on to the back of the Team BRM gearbox of Ryan Sewell. Not quite close enough again. Just hangs on the back, follows the line. Monkey see, monkey do.
Draws him in, goes to the outside again. You can't say that Lewis Leeds is not having a go. He's putting the car left, he's putting it right, he's trying the inside, he's trying the outside. He's not just following line astern. There it is on the inside, just about it coming together. Could have torn a tyre off the back of our race leader, Ryan Sewell, then Lewis Leeds, but that would have taken him out as well. Then no one's a winner. That would have just handed it to Antonio Estudi. Now the impetus goes to Lewis Leeds. Estudi's about half a second off the back now as Leeds looks to the outside. Does that give him the inside running to Siberia? No, he'll try the switchback. Looks to the inside. Again, Antonio Estudi, a watching brief. A very close watching brief on these two out in front.
Tell you what, this is one of the great Formula 4 open wheel races. It's something about this circuit. There's just some kind of magic around here that makes open wheel racing superb. And not to mention we had the S5000 demonstration earlier today. This is just a perfect track for anything with wings and slicks.
As Freddie Mercury said, it's a kind of magic.
Ryan Sewell just hanging on. He's just whatever magic he's got left aboard that Team BRM machine and the Hankook tyres. Let's keep in mind that this is its 3rd race, technically 4th session. They qualified on these tyres yesterday. The conditions are cool so far, so the tyre wear's not too bad. Lockie Hughes had some dramas yesterday with high tyre wear, but that's not our attention at the moment. Will Lewis Leeds get Ryan Sewell at this point now? He's very close to the gearbox. He's going around the outside on the start-finish line. They're side by side through turn 1. Antonio Estudi just hanging back, seeing what happens. Ryan Sewell just hangs on in there. He's the widest Formula 4 car you'll ever see.
This is a very very close contest at the moment. Ryan Sewell on the Morris Finance leaderboard is leading. Lewis leads to Antonio Astuti. We've got 4 laps to go. I'm not going to guarantee anyone that any one of those 3 will be on the podium at the moment. The way they're racing, it could come down to the last couple of laps and get that sort of kind of 1% risk taking. They're not really doing it at the moment. They're certainly taking it up to about 95% risk, aren't they? Really feeling each other out here. And Lewis Leeds is certainly not sitting back watching this. He's poking the nose in. And this is certainly what a lot of races come back from Europe. When they go to Europe and race, come back to Australia, they go, every corner, you've got to have a look. You've got to have a look. We've only got 12 laps to do it in. That's 12 times 12. There's only 144 opportunities to pass here, so we've got to make every opportunity stick. Leeds looks to the inside of Lukey Heights, and have a look at this. Ryan Sewell goes wide, onto the dirt, regains it, and Antonio Astuti now, was he going to have a lunge at Leeds? Leeds recovers and sees him off, but doesn't get a good run around here. Certainly Antonio Astuti should have the better run through 11 and 12, but Lewis Leeds, again, huge presence of mind, went to the inside, left the door open, Ryan Sewell. He tried to fill it, unfortunately went over the back of the ripple strip, upset the car and recovered.
That was just bubbling away for the last couple of laps. Something was going to give, and thankfully these guys hung on in there, and we still enjoy a fine motor race at the moment for the top 3. Antonio Astuti was setting the fastest lap of the race prior to that moment, as we see a replay now of Lewis Leeds going around the inside. It was just bubbling away. He just had to have a crack somewhere just to get Ryan Sewell by surprise, but he surprised himself most of all and lost a whole heap of time on the approach to NG.
I think Ryan Sewell had drifted a little bit wide offline there as well.
They both got away with it, yeah.
So they both had a bit of a scary moment. It just happened to be that Ryan Sewell kept it clean, didn't get the car airborne off the back of the ripple strip. Here it is on the Morris Finance leaderboard again. Sewell leads, Astuti, Harvey, Walls, Mansell and Hayek. 7.5 seconds behind our race leader is Harry Hayek. So just off the back of these pictures we're seeing now. There's the 23 red car, airborne around Lukey Heights last time around. Let's watch them. 1, 2, 3, heads bob up out of Bass Strait. Magnificent shots out over that rough bit of water that links Australian mainland to Tasmania. Here we go again, all clean around through Lukey Heights. Maybe learnt their lesson last time around. Let's keep it tidy around Lukey Heights. Down in now. Lewis Leeds has recovered nicely. Within 1 lap, he's now right back in striking distance. But this time, he has brought Antonio Astuti right along for the ride.
Still a long way to go in this race for Lewis Leeds to make that pass. Back on lap 8 of 12. So he certainly could afford to make a little mistake, because he's still got about 6 minutes left in this race and about 4 laps remaining as we cross to the start-finish line to begin lap 10 of 12 with 3 laps remaining. And Lewis Leeds again had to think about going through turn 1 again. You've got to be in it to win it, basically, as they say in the classics. But positioned line astern at the moment. Lewis Leeds again so close to Ryan Sewell. There's nothing in it between these guys. This is what happens when you get the best drivers, the best teams together. We're seeing a very close race for the last 10 laps, would you believe, of the top 3.
Ryan Sewell was weathering this storm beautifully out in front. I get a bit of a feeling he's even reached out and grabbed the mirrors and just tipped them up and said, whatever happens behind me, happens behind me. As Leeds draws alongside again, gets out of it, tries a bit of an early brake move to dip to the inside there. But wow, Ryan Sewell had that absolutely covered off there as well. Good on Lewis Leeds. He's trying everything. He's getting early on the brakes to try and force the inside running out of the corner. He's tried that. He's tried round the outside. This is terrific stuff out in front. Weathering the storm is Ryan Sewell. Lewis Leeds is trying every trick in the book that he's learnt in his short but massive open-wheeler career. And Antonio Astuti, I think he's getting a bit of a masterclass, actually.
Exactly, yeah. He's watching 2 of the finest Formula 4 races in the country. Antonio Astuti in his 2nd year, no slouch himself. Certainly in the box seat to profit if these two have it coming together, but certainly on course for a podium here in race 3, the decider for round 3 as well. We've got round 4 coming up later this afternoon, but at the moment it's Ryan Sewell, Lewis Leeds, Antonio Astuti, less than a second separating them. This has been going on for 10 laps, Darren. It's remarkable. As we begin the last lap now, as well as, the penultimate. And it's a time-certain finish for this one. 20 minutes for this one. We've got the likes of the Car Sales TCR series coming up next as well. Lewis Leeds again having a think through turn one, but just not quite close enough. He just needs to find that run through the exit of that final corner to get that slipstream and to position himself into turn one. So he just hasn't quite. I don't know whether he's just got too much wing aboard the AGI Sport machine or whatever, but just always so near, but yet so far.
Streaming on down through turn three, the famous turn three, as they look for a lead change again. 11 laps in a row we've tried to do this lead change. So has Harry Hayek. In fact, we haven't. Lewis Leeds has been trying to get through. Harry Hayek currently just down in 7th place on his return to Open Wheeler Motorsport here in Australia.
And confirmation now as well, final lap of this race. So this all matters. Lewis Leeds has one last chance to go for a race win, but in the box seat for position 2, which ain't too bad to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and this has been a really strong race. This is 2 race car drivers operating at the highest level here. Now, this Lewis Leeds has got the inside run there. Pinches the right front. He'll get pushed wide. Ryan Sewell again. Presence of mind. Even leaves a number 11 on the road as he exits the Honda corner there. That time, Lewis Leeds to the inside. He's not leaving it unturned. He's going to get through.
Here we go.
Side by side through turn 12 go 2 of the Cam's Pace. Australian Formula 4 Championship contenders. To the line they go. Who will it be? It will be the number 5 of Ryan Sewell. He claimed it anyway with his fist in the air, celebrating victory. But Lewis Leeds, the drive of that race, the concentration, the application of pressure to Ryan Sewell. He will not have left this race wondering if he had anything left for it. So Ryan Sewell takes the win over Lewis Leeds. Antonio Astudi watching on the TV screen in front of him unfold just an amazing race, and good on Antonio for staying out of their way there. That could have ended in tears at some point throughout that race. Emerson Harvey in the Shannons car home in position number 4. Jackson Walls doing a tremendous job as well. Here's the field returning to the paddock now.
0.005 seconds the difference between Ryan Sewell and Lewis Leeds. Antonio Astudi, brilliant job in P3, hanging on the back there. Emerson Harvey, Jackson Walls, Christian Mansell and Harry Hayek rounding out your top 7. As we conclude round 3 of the Camp Space Australian Formula 4 Championship this weekend. Round 4 begins with the 4th race of the weekend, due to start at about 1:30 this afternoon.
Rev limit
highlights from race 3, and it was a brilliant start by Ryan Sewell ahead of Lewis Leeds. He led through turn 1, and that probably decided the race win in the end.
Yeah, it certainly did. He got away very, very nicely indeed. Just eased the car off the line, drove away with it very, very nicely indeed. Of course, we saw one of the cars spear off there. It was just off the side of the picture there, which was Mansell in the number 7 car. He slid off at turn 1. So that was how the opening part of that race took place. Great shots out over Surf Beach here locally. And we'll be back with TCR. That's what they look like. Back in a moment.